All right, welcome in. I'm Kodiak Broncos, and today I am here to talk about three winners and losers from our game against Carolina on Sunday. But before we get into it, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already, drop a comment because I am a new Broncos channel. That would help me out greatly. And follow me on Twitter if you like my stuff, Kodiak Broncos. Let's dive right into it. So, number one, the main guy I want to point out is Nix because I've just been waiting for this to happen where there was no question about who the Broncos' best player was this past Sunday. On the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, on special teams, Nix was your best player. And this is the first game where we can conclusively say that he was the best player on the field, no matter what unit you are looking at for the Denver Broncos. There are 53 guys, or technically 47 on the game day roster, that could have done this. Now, granted, probably a little easier when the ball's in your hands every offensive play to make your case, but Nix, he finally did what we have been waiting for. You know, it was kind of a rocky start against New Orleans because, obviously he misses those two throws. The NFL world is probably unhappy with him, but the Broncos ended up getting the win anyway, so that kind of went under the radar. But Nix was finally able to rip the ball down the field. You have probably seen those passing charts all over Twitter this year. You've probably seen, Nix can't throw over 10 yards. Well, guess what? They finally ripped the ball down the field. And at a certain point, I believe in the second quarter it was, when Nix dropped back, I'm just like, this is a first down. This is a free first down. And he just kept ripping and slinging it. And he got good utilization out of all weapons. He got good utilization out of the wide receivers. He got good utilization out of the tight ends. And the most absurd part is the other skill position players left plays on the field. So Nix could have had another 50 or 75 yards if you're just looking at the box score. Now, granted, the box score doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters at the end of the day is, how Nix plays individually, because obviously control the things you can control the footwork, control the timing, control the anticipation. And Nix did a great job with all those things this past Sunday. And his development is coming along very nicely for Nix. It's coming along very nicely for Sean Payton. It's coming along great for Davis Webb and the rest of the organization. So, yeah, Nix is our first winner, but it feels like cheating because all of you probably knew that was coming. Probably is going to be named Offensive Rookie of the Week as well, unless people go with Marvin Harrison Jr. Also made a very good case, but I think this is the first week that Nix finally gets it. Tyrone Tracy as well. That's another guy who could win it, but I think it's got to go to Nix. Loser number one, Riley Moss. And I didn't like his game on Sunday. Coker in particular got the better of him, and he's been pretty good his first year starting, so this was kind of a surprise to me. I remember in the first game against Seattle, I was like, okay, he went up against Tyler Lockett. He kind of held his own, but Lockett did make a handful of plays on him that was just like, okay, Riley Moss, your first, matchup in your NFL career is against a very savvy multi-year NFL veteran. And Riley Moss was this close to making a play at the end of the game that almost got the Broncos the ball back in Week 1 against Seattle. But ultimately, he didn't come up with the football. But it's been a very good first year for Riley Moss. So this was kind of a surprise to me. I hope that teams aren't figuring him out or anything like that. Because ultimately, when you have Patrick Surtain on the other side, you have the toughest cornerback 2 job in the entire NFL, and he's handled it very well. He's handled it very good. Not only has he handled it well in the locker room, but he has played exceptional. He's played exceptional this entire year, and I've just been really happy at what he's been able to do. I hope he can tighten up for Baltimore and Kansas City, because we are going to need everybody on our team to play their best. We are going to need a lot. We're going to need some guys to peak this upcoming week and play some of the best football they've played all year. And Riley Moss in particular is probably, one of those top 5 guys, besides Nix, that I can name of, who you want to peak going into this very tumultuous stretch, because you have Baltimore, you have KC, you have Atlanta. Those are 3 pretty tough games, so we're going to need good Riley Moss. And a few plays Bryce Young was very close to making went in Moss's favor. I remember there was one in particular where he tries to rip the seam and then Xavier Legette just loses it in the sun. So we kind of got a lucky break there. And obviously there was a couple where, they were just trying to throw quick outs and Bryce Young just airmailed it into the sideline. And Bryce Young, I will say, he did not play that badly. He just played against the Broncos defense that wasn't as smothering as I would have expected, but they were just playing a clean, sound game. After the fumble in the first quarter led to the easy touchdown for Carolina, so yeah. But ultimately, I hope that Riley Moss can bounce back. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's had a great year, and just the fact that he got obliterated by Coker and Xavier Legette, I know, was having a really nice year for Carolina, but I didn't really like him as a prospect. I'm willing to forgive him. It's, he's still a young DB. The hot hand and feeling good and feeling hot and cold, that is very, very real for that position. It's very real for rookies in general. But yeah, Riley Moss, unfortunately, is a loser this week. Wouldn't say stock down necessarily, but unfortunately, it just wasn't a good showing. But I think he knows it, and I think he's going to go out against Baltimore next week and play much, much better. So winner number 2, offensive and special teams coaching staff. Now, this is something that I was actually thinking about when I gave a shout-out to Davis Webb in the Bo Nix, when I was trying to give a shout-out to Davis Webb in the Bo Nix slide and the winner number 1 slide, because the offensive coaching staff is doing so much with so little. And the assistant coach shout-outs, okay, I'm going to go kind of out of order here. Zach Strife, Jim Leonard, Chris Banjo, and Jamar Cain. So Strife, he is our O-line coach, and he has done very, very well. The only real turnover we've had has been at the center position because we had Wattenberg, and then he got hurt, and Forsyth has done a heck of a job stepping in. Jim Leonard continues to be a big part of why the secondary is kind of overperforming expectations. Chris Banjo, big part of why that special teams unit has been very, very good this year. And Jamar Cain, our pass rush specialist. And I cannot wait until this team adds some real talent this offseason. Because, yes, it is nice to get some young talent. It was nice to draft Marvin Mims and see what you had, even though that really hasn't panned out from a wide receiver standpoint. Phenomenal kick returner, but, from a special team standpoint and from an offensive standpoint, that's what I meant to say. It just hasn't been that good for him. Troy Franklin, he's still kind of a work in progress. More on this later. I'm kind of spoiling my next slide. But the offensive coaching staff, they are doing so much with so little. So last year, Sean Payton has Russell Wilson, and, credit to Russ, he's been playing pretty well in Pittsburgh so far this year. And ultimately, it just wasn't good enough. So he comes into this year with a rookie, and your wide receiver 1 is Courtland Sutton, and a whole bunch of who knows. And even Courtland Sutton, he's a low-end wide receiver 1. He's not a guy you're going to give, 10, 11, 12 targets a game to at all. He's going to make some heck of play every game or two. But, yeah, ultimately, the guys behind Courtland Sutton just really haven't been doing a whole lot this year. But the offensive coaching staff is getting a lot out of them. And special teams continues to be a big strength for the Broncos. They're number 2 in special teams DVOA. I think Detroit ended up kind of running away with that this past week because of how good their kick return game was against Tennessee. And pitting Carolina down at the 1 is what started the comeback. So Riley Dixon, he's also had a heck of a year, and I'm just really excited that, we've gotten to this point after having to relive the Tom McMillain experience in 2019, 2020, and 2021. It was terrible. But yeah, so loser number 2, Javonte Williams. We've reached the stocks down again, part of the Javonte experience this year. First 3 weeks, we think he's dead in the water. And then against the Jets and Raiders, he kind of has a bounce-back game. Against the Chargers, he fumbles. Against the Saints last week, has probably one of the best games of his career. This week, looks like weeks 1 through 3 again. And sub 3 yards per carry when the passing game is firing on all cylinders is not very good. And Carolina had the worst running defense coming into this week as well. Worst in the league. I'm pretty sure Algier and Bijan both went over 100 on the ground against them. So that's just not good. That's just not really what you want. This isn't really the kind of game I was looking for from Javonte Williams. And he's a very, very hot and cold rusher. And he's more of a third down pass protection back at this point. And it looks like the Samaje Perine career arc is incoming for him. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because, Samaje Perine, there's always going to be a spot for him on an NFL roster just based on the fact that he is a good 2-minute drill specialist, as we know from watching him last year. He is a very good pass protecting back. And Javonte Williams came into the league as one of the best pass protecting running back prospects in a while. So it's nice to see that part of his game translated. But unfortunately with Javonte Williams, he just never has gotten up to speed. I don't really know if it's a confidence thing. because his knee was completely shredded apart, and we kind of relied him on natural strength and contact balance in the lower half of his body as far as why he was so good his rookie year. And that part of his game just really, really has not translated into what we thought it could. So, unfortunately, the second-round pick on Javonte Williams in 2021, it looks like it's never going to be what value it should have been, just based on the fact that he was a running back, and, running backs usually taking that high. You think of guys like Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, guys that can be true difference makers at the position. And Javonte Williams, he can be a reliable back for you, but unfortunately, he's never going to be what we thought he could be, just because of, the fact that he exploded his knee, and he has never been the same since. Loser number 3, wide receiver room. So speaking of our skill position dudes, wide receiver room. So you fumbled the ball twice. Lil'Jordan Humphrey fumbles on the first drive of the game at the 50-yard line, and then Courtland Sutton fumbles near the red zone on what should have been one of the very last plays of the game. The young wide receivers, they just continued to leave plays on the field. Marvin Mims, when he was not looking for the ball behind him, he should have caught that up the seam, and if he catches that, who even knows what happens with his speed and tackle breaking ability? But Troy Franklin, I think he just needs to spend some time with the jugs machine. I think he just needs to spend some time, during practice. With the position coach, I think he just needs to spend some time tracking deep balls and just trying to make sure that he can, come up with those. Because not only that pass that Bo Nix threw to him that he should have came down with, that did not go through his hands. It went through his wrists. It went through I don't know. Yeah, you can see kind of what I'm doing. It went through this area. Okay, I don't really know how to describe it when I'm just talking about it on YouTube. But Sean Payton, he called this unit out in particular in his post-game presser, because every player that is notable in this room had a very, very bad rep. Vele being the exception, because he didn't drop a pass, he didn't fumble or anything like that. But yeah, either way, Sean Payton, he called this unit out. He said, the question with the young quarterback is, are we good enough around him? And I expect the Broncos to add to this room either soon or in the offseason. Now, I did back-to-back losers because I wanted to end this video on a happy note. Winner number 3, Trautman, Krull, and Adkins. It has been a really, really tough year for our tight ends. Our tight end play in room has been one of the worst in the league this year. We didn't eclipse over 100 yards with our tight ends until the Saints game. So that is laughably embarrassing production, and that came on the back of a very battered New Orleans Saints defense. Granted, Carolina is nothing special either, but these guys showed out in enormous ways. Trautman making a heck of a catch, Krull doing some pretty nice things, Adkins making a really tough catch as well. Those are all things you need to do to help out your young quarterback. You need to be an NFL tight end at certain points, and they just did, and that's kind of what I've been saying all year. They need to be NFL tight ends. They need to, help Nix with a good catch or two each game. And they probably eclipsed their season production in this one game. And I'm very, very happy with how this group performed with Dulcich in the doghouse. Now, Dulcich, he's looking like a guy who might not ever become anything either. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. But, if he gets a shot again, we'll see. That's kind of like a wait and see. I had very high hopes for him, but he has regressed. He's fallen off a cliff since his rookie year. But Trautman, Krull, and Adkins, this could be a shot in the arm for them to have a very, very nice season going forward. And yeah, overall, that does it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.